Ahoy, and welcome to the Jolly Reader. I'm your host, Captain Book, and it's been forever. I think it's been a year, really, honestly, since I put something out. I'm gonna spill the tea, I guess, on my life and why I've been MIA a bit. So, oh gosh, this is so awkward. Me and Josh separated, so there's that. Like, not married anymore. Whoops. It was really cordial. No, like, major betrayals or anything happened. Allie's doing really good. I don't know, just kind of is what it is. And then because of that, I got a real job. I was working full-time at Topgolf, which was really fun until you live in Nebraska and it's super cold. So I quit that, and then I got this desk job, and that was fine. But I basically was like, I'm not being true to myself, and I really want to do this. So I said, screw it, and I quit my job, and I'm doing this full time. So I just really appreciate everyone's support, and the time I've been gone, you guys have been great. Downloads, messages, love it. Thank you, appreciate you. Also, I guess I should just say, I look like trash right now if you're watching the video. I'm just happy to be here, really, honestly. It took a lot to get to this point. So I have a boyfriend. I've been seeing someone for about 6 months. His name is Sean. He's adorable. So you'll hear me talk about him a lot. He's really great. So, one more kind of, I don't know, stuff we need to talk about. I want to start a Patreon, and I wanted to see what you guys would be interested in. I have lots of ideas for it. I was thinking movies based on books or TV shows based on books, like Pretty Little Liars, even though that would take forever. Also, short stories, kind of how I did The Most Dangerous Game. I don't know, book reviews I could read, Google reviews of books. I don't know. We could do pretty much anything, but I wanted to see your guys' opinion. I'm going to get that started. You can message me on any social media at the Jolly Reader Podcast. I also have a website, thejollyreaderpodcast.com, where you can contact me or whatever, and it'll send it to my email. So, that being said, we are 1 year later going to finish the book series, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, and we're on the third book, As Good as Dead. And it's broken into 2 parts, but I'm doing it in 3 parts because the book's really long. Just made more sense for it to be broken up that way. I will do my very best to recap the last 2 books real quick. And I'll try to stop saying all the time. So the first book, oh my gosh, this is going to be hard. Okay, so I can't even think of her name. Andy Bell, she goes missing. Everyone blames Sal Singh, her boyfriend. He kind of does the suicide note situation, text message, dies in the woods. Turns out that her sister kind of roundabout accidentally killed, her boyfriend, who was Kara and what's his sister's name? Naomi's dad, was having an affair with her, and he accidentally, she hit her head, whatever, and then when she went to her little sister Becca, she just kind of let her die. It was a whole thing. You guys listen to it. Anyway, Sal didn't do it, whatever. And then the second book, Jamie, I can't remember his last name, Connor's brother, he went missing. It turns out it was, hey, there's Chance. Don't you dare, he'll turn off my computer. Stop. Anyways, he went missing. Turns out Stanley, abducted him, essentially, because Stanley is Child Brunswick, which was the son of a serial killer. And Charlie Green, who was Pip's next door neighbor, his twin sister, maybe little sister, was a victim of it. So he killed Stanley, blah, blah, blah. Pip held him dying in her hands. That was not quick at all. I'm so sorry. Go back and listen to the episodes. It's a whole thing. So things to look forward to in this book, which is As Good as Dead by Holly Jackson, are stick figures, pigeons, and a stalker. Okay, real talk though. This book is not that good. I don't want to say that, but Pip's on the struggle bus. That's actually my first note. And she's crazy. She always hears the sound of the gunshot, and she feels the breaking bones, because she was giving Stanley CPR or whatever, and the blood on her hands or whatever. So throughout the book, she talks about like someone knocked on the door and all she heard was the 6 gunshots or 5 or whatever it was. So that's something that you have to read for yourself. I would suggest reading this book series. So I don't get too much into that unless I think it's relevant. I'm trying to stay with the meat of it. Anyways, forget it. Let's get into it. Part 1, Chapter 1. First note, Pip's on the struggle bus. She sees Stanley's dead eyes everywhere and is still hearing the gunshots, like I just explained. Her dad takes her to Fairview, the train station, because they're having a meeting. Parked at the train station, she can see like the exchanging of money, blah, blah, blah. Stanley, dead eyes, 6 gunshots. It's so stupid. Anyway, so her dad snaps her out of it, but he doesn't realize that she's having like so many issues or whatever. So once they're on the train, she thinks she sees Charlie Green. So that's her next door neighbor that killed Stanley, because he's on the run. He never was captured or whatever. She thinks she sees him twice. It's not him, obviously. Flora, that was Charlie's wife. She turned herself in a month ago. It says 4 weeks. What's the difference? Anyway, in Minnesota, but she doesn't supposedly know where Charlie is. But there's rumors that he crossed the border into Canada, which, duh. They get to this meeting with Roger, who's Pip's lawyer, and he also works at the law office that Pip's dad works at, but I'm pretty sure it mentions that the dad does like commercial property law and stuff. Anyways, there's a defamation case against Pip. I'm pretty sure this is from when she... what is the word I'm looking for? When she like broke the windows and stuff of Max's house, and like I think she spray painted something on his wall. I honestly can't remember. Anyway, they enter the room and sitting across her is Max Hastings, like I said. Chapter 2. So Max's... oh, my first note says this is the whole thing. So Max's lawyer is Epps, that's his last name, who is also his trial lawyer in the last book, because remember he was on trial for like raping Becca and all that, but he got off like as innocent, whatever. So the mediator explains the purpose of the mediation. They want to come to an agreement so it doesn't have to go to court. Duh, that's the whole point of mediation. So Pip talks a lot about Max's obnoxious blue water bottle. I said not sure if that'll be relevant eventually. She really does talk about it, like throughout this whole section. Like he's out running and he's always has this stupid water bottle, whatever. She sees him in the morning. They cross paths while running. So Max's lawyer basically is saying that Pip said a false statement on social media. She has over 300,000 followers. Goals, you guys. And this has prevented Max from getting a job, I guess. Whatever. Also, he still has to live at home with his parents because he's not making money, blah, blah, blah. And his parents live in fear because their house was vandalized. But they can't prove that was Pip. They just assume it was, which we know it was. And Pip's lawyer hopes that Epps is not suggesting that Pip was responsible for the vandalism. Max's lawyer, Epps, says no, but there is a connection since the vandalism happened just hours after the statement was made on her social media. I think this is when she like said he was a rapist or whatever. And I'm pretty sure she uploaded like the phone call she has with him saying, you know, Becca, like you raped Becca, didn't you? And he was like, shut up, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, so Pip has a outburst, one of several during this mediation, where she calls Max a rapist. And then Epps reminds the room that Max was not found guilty or found not guilty on all charges. And Pip's lawyer says like Pip's tweet, like, they read it, I guess, and says, I don't care what the jury believes, he is guilty. What she's trying to say, like, she posted an opinion, not a fact. That's like their defense. Like, she believes he's guilty, but she's not like slandering. I don't know. This is all a whole thing. It takes forever. It kind of doesn't come back around. I'm assuming it will eventually, but here we are. So Epps also believes that the audio file was doctored, which we know it wasn't. Pip freaks out about that. Epps continues to say they're seeking $15,000 in damages for lost wages over the last 3 months. And in addition, pain and suffering, so a total of $23,000. And Pip's lawyer finds this ridiculous, and Epps interrupts and says that they're willing to lower the cost if this statement is redacted and an apology is issued on her social media. Pip deleted the post weeks ago, but Epps wants her to release like a public statement saying that she was wrong and fully admitting she doctored the audio clip or whatever. So Pip replies with F off, clearly, because what other response is there for that? So Pip says if she admits the wrongdoing, he'll lower it to $13,000. That's still like a ridiculous amount, which is what Pip's lawyer says. So Epps offers $10,000, and then Roger, that's Pip's lawyer, says $5,000, and then Max nods his head, whatever. So the offer's at $7,000 in conjunction with a apology and redaction. I swear this speeds up. Like, holy cow, no one cares. But anyways, Roger begins to speak, and Pip interrupts him, saying, no deal. Like, I don't even want to deal with it. She's not going to retract her statement because it's not a lie. And she's like, here's the thing about suing me, Max. Basically, we'd have to go through like a whole trial with the same witnesses, and it wouldn't be criminal charges, but everyone would know that you're truly a rapist or whatever. And the mediator offers for them to take a break, and Pip's like, nope, I'm done, I'm out, whatever. And Epps catches her in the hallway and like gives Pip his card and says he won't be filing for a month or so they can think about like the offer. And he also gives her some advice, and he says he's seen people in self-destructive spiral, and he warns her that she will hurt herself and everyone around her, so she should turn back while she still can. And Pip says she's willing to destroy herself and lose everything to destroy Max, and she walks out here like hearing the 6 gunshots or whatever. So like, before we get to the next chapter, this is kind of like the ongoing thing that's hard to explain that I'm not going to get like too much into as we move forward, but she is like in this spiral, and she only cares about destroying Max, and she does not care who she hurts or whatever. And then she's always hearing the gunshots and stuff. Chapter 3. Ravi and Pip are hanging out at her house, and he's the light in her dark life, blah, blah, blah. Who cares? So, like, the important part is Ravi's joking, and he calls Pip a perv. Josh, that's Pip's little brother, asks what that means, like what a perv means. And Ravi's just like, oh, when you watch people in a creepy way, like whatever. And Josh is like, oh, like the guy who's been watching our house. And this is like completely dismissed. They're like, no one's watching the house. I'm like, what? Like, that's important information. That'll come back around. I said at the moment, though, I'm thinking like an undercover detective or something, or like a private investigator, but I don't know. I'll get into it later. So Pip's going to meet Ravi's family at some point. She's been taking notes, blah, blah, blah. Who cares? It's just like progression in their relationship. So Ravi leaves, and Pip gets out. This is so messed up. So she gets out her 6 prepaid phones that she's hiding in a fake drawer. It's like her desk drawer, and then there's like a fake bottom, then she lifts that up, whatever. And she texts one of the numbers, that the only number she has saved, and she's like, can I come over now? And she swears it's the last time to herself, and then this person replies yes. We figure out what it is. It's kind of obvious, but here we go. Chapter 4. She tells her family she's going out for a run, but she ends up at Luke Eaton's house. So that's Nat Da Silva's now ex-boyfriend, but they were together like the whole last book, and then like obviously he was a drug dealer. So long story short, he sells Pip Xanax, and then he also offers to sell her roofies or Rufinol or whatever. And Pip gets pissed, and she's like, well, are you selling to Max or whatever? And Luke's like, I don't ask questions, nor do I answer them, so get going, whatever. But like, she comes to the conclusion like Howie, he was arrested in the last book, so like he can't be the main dealer. So like if Max was getting roofies still, it would have to go through Luke. But like, my opinion too is like, don't you think Max would be kind of laying low right now? I would, idiot. So Pip's like freaking out over the thought of Max drugging girls again. She stumbles behind a tree, like on a run or whatever, to take a pill, Xanax or whatever. And then her neighbor is out walking a dog, and Pip's like, oh, I was just running, whatever. It's a whole thing. But Pip apparently, like after the incident was, like after Stanley died, she was prescribed Valium. Valium? Am I saying that right? Whatever. We all know what it is. At some point, but the doctor said she needs to find her own coping strategies because the pills will only make it harder for her to recover from PTSD. But Pip is very convinced she needs the pills. Also, like, she's, I don't know, 17 or whatever. She literally watched a man die in her arms, and they're like, yeah, you could only have, like, anxiety meds for, like, a month. That's bizarre. That doesn't make any sense to me. Anywho, Pip talks about Charlie Green a lot. Basically, she would kill, like, for her little brother if, like, she understands why Charlie did it. Like, if someone abducted her brother and murdered him, she would go after him, whatever. And she needs Charlie to be found to help her through her feelings because she thinks, like, he would understand, help her fix things. It's so stupid. So anyways, back to reality. Pip feels like someone's watching her. They aren't, or, like, we don't know because she just says she doesn't see anyone. And then the pill will take her away soon, so she'll like feel better because she got her Xanax. Okay, corner. This is my favorite thing. So it's coroner, like a person that like cuts open dead bodies. Coroner.com, because it's like a blog or whatever. I love it. This is the whole thing, but it's like, how do pathologists determine time of death in a homicide case? I said might be relevant later, but I'm not going to bore you with the details. But it goes over rigor mortis, 6 to 12 hours, liver mortis, 2 to 4 hours, and algor mortis, which is like the temperature of the body, because your body loses heat after the death, so that's how they estimate the time. But obviously, environment, age, sex, other factors contribute. Honestly, like it's more detailed, but I will go into detail if and when it becomes relevant. Chapter 5. Not sure why I said it like that. So Pip is looking at pictures of dead bodies on the internet because, I don't know, that was like a really random note just to be like, yeah, she's doing that. But anyways, her mom walks in, is like, what the heck is going on? And Pip explains that she's going to do like season 3 of Good Girl's Guide to Murder, because the first season obviously was the Andy Bell. Second season was Jamie Reynolds. And then now she wants to do another season. Also, I think, I'm not sure if this is mentioned, but I'm pretty sure it's talked about, like, so if she is going to have to owe money, like, she needs to make money. So her podcast is a good way to do that. Anyway, it's going to be about a Jane Doe case she found. Oh, this Jane Doe was found by the Hudson River 9 years ago. Later, Pip explains that she wants to take the case because it's black and white. Like, there's a bad guy, there's a good girl, whatever, victim, and they need justice, or whatever. I don't know. This is, like, spoiler alert, she doesn't end up researching that case, so it's dumb. Unless it does come back to connect somehow, but she, like, ditches that idea later. Anyway, Pip gets another message. I don't know why I say another, because I don't know, we talked about it, but it says, who will look for you when you're the one who disappears? I don't know. That comes back. Like, she keeps getting these messages on Twitter, and she gets text messages later. Anyways, that's like the whole thing. Who will look for you when you're the one who disappears? So then she just, like, in this section, she goes through each person to try to decide if she thinks it's like they're guilty or not, like if it's black and white. So like Elliot Ward, so that's Kara's dad. He's in prison for life, and she thinks she doesn't think he's a danger and doesn't fully deserve it. Like, I beg to differ, but circumstantially, like, he made bad decisions. Max Hastings, like, she hates him. He's a monster, whatever. So obviously, bad guy. Becca Bell, she got 15 months, I'm assuming, for hiding the body and kind of killing her sister. But anyways, Pip and Becca talk every day. I'm not really sure why. I thought that was kind of weird. But she thinks anyone could do what Becca did if they were put in a similar situation. I disagree. But anyways, she literally murdered her sister and then hid the body. I don't know, like, because she was roofied by someone else. Not really sure how that goes. But anyways, Stanley's more of a gray area. Like, she doesn't think he should have died, but, like, also he was Child Brunswick, blah, blah, blah. Charlie Green, her next door neighbor, also gray area. She, like, weirdly idolizes him. I don't know. That's super weird to me. And then Pip thinks that the Jane Doe case will cure her. And it says read page 39, which now I'm not sure is super relevant, but we're going to do it anyways. I don't have my Post-its today either. Okay, so an unknown woman between 20 and 25 found naked and mutilated near the Hudson River. No one had looked for her when she disappeared, never claimed, so never missed. It couldn't have been clearer. This woman deserved justice for the things done to her and the man who had done them. He could never be anything other than a monster. No gray area, no contradictions, no confusion. Pip could solve this case, save Jane Doe, but most important point was that Jane Doe would save her. One more case would do it. Put everything right, just one more. So that's like her whole point of trying to research this. And I'm going to go kick my dogs out of the room so we can do this next chapter. Chapter 6. So Pip goes for a run and she sees a drawing on her driveway, and it's chalk drawings, which I don't really understand because they say like they're easily blown away. I don't know if you've ever had chalk, but it will stick on your driveway even after the rain. But anyway, it looks like stick figures without heads. It's just like the arms and the legs and the body, obviously. And she's like kind of doesn't think anything of it. Like, she's a little paranoid, but she's like, I don't even know what to think of this. So she goes to this cafe that Kara works at now, and she meets Robbie and tells her, he tells her that his family loved her and like blah, blah, blah. She met them the night before. Who cares? Character development. Who cares? So she talks to Kara, who was supposed to move away. Like the grandparents were supposed to like take her, blah, blah, blah. We talked about this last book. But she decided to take a gap year, and then Naomi found a job nearby. So like instead of moving with the grandparents, they just like stayed in town. Not sure if they're like living together or what the situation is, but they're there. So that's all you need to know. And then Kara has a new girlfriend named Steph. Not sure if that's relevant, but there it is. So Kara spills the tea about the drama that happened in the morning at the cafe. So Max Hastings came in, and behind him, Jason Bell also came into the cafe. And at this point, like, Pip kind of goes on to explain how Max is like the cornerstone. He pretty much caused the events of both the books by drugging Becca. Like, if he didn't drug Becca, then I feel like Andy would have still died. I don't really know how that is relevant, but like they wouldn't have to frame Sal, blah, blah, blah. And then the whole Jamie Child Brunswick thing. I don't know. She like goes through it, whatever. She thinks Max is the main problem. So back to the drama. So Jason runs into Max, like bumps into him, and Max spills his drink all over him, and they get into this like semi-shoving physical altercation, but it's broken up by the manager. I don't know. It was supposed to be like a whole thing. But Naomi has been thinking about just telling the police about the hit and run. So at least Max would go to jail for like a little bit. But Pip's like, that's a stupid idea because you'll get in trouble. He'll only get a few months. It's kind of pointless. Whatever. So then Connor and Jamie walk in. They're like kind of just trying to bring in all the characters from the previous books to be like, hey, they still exist and blah, blah, blah. So Jamie's going to be a paramedic. And then Nat walks in and they kiss. Super cute. Whatever. Happy, whatever, who cares? So Pip tries to remember that there are good things that happen in this town. Chapter 7. Pip goes for another run. It rained the day before, but the 5 headless Chuck figures were back, but they're not in the same spot. They're like moving up closer to the house. Then she sees a headless dead pigeon in the exact same spot as the last one from the very beginning of the book with her dad. I feel like I mentioned that, but there's a pigeon, whatever. She calls her mom, but her mom's pretty like dismissive. It's like, neighborhood kids playing with chalk and cats bringing in dead things. Like, get over it. They go inside for dinner, and Pip wants to take another Xanax, but she needs to be normal for dinner because her mom's getting suspicious or whatever. Pip checks her phone. Ravi's talking about something pointless about pizza toppings, whatever. And then there's an email from Roger, that's the lawyer or whatever, wanting to talk about the offer made at the mediation. She's like, over my dead body. Not a flattering choice of words there, Pip, but okay. And then Pip also gets an email, like on the podcast email, and it says, who will look for you when you're the one who disappears? P.S. Remember always to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Chapter 8. So Pip's like clearly losing it because she's like, there were 2 dead birds at my house. Like this person like clearly put these here. So she's like, this is so weird. So she's like in her room. She's hallucinating that she's in the burning building where Stanley died. And she like somehow gets into her bottom drawer and takes a pill to like calm down. So then she goes and searches her emails to see all the times she received messages about, you know, who will look for you when you disappear. And she also looks on Twitter because she remembers there was a message like that on there too. And then there was a Twitter message when she announced the 2nd season of Good Girls Guide to Murder, the disappearance of Jamie Reynolds, which was 3 months ago. So this is like the first time that she can remember that this started. And then she also talks about like she at one point had received an envelope with her name on it, but it was empty and they kind of thought nothing of it, but it didn't have like a postmark or like a return address or anything. And then shortly after that, she got a letter from Max's lawyer. And then at Stanley's funeral, there was a bouquet of roses like kind of shoved in her driver's side mirror, and all the heads of the flowers were picked off. So like the headless stick figures or whatever. But at the time, she assumed it was one of the protesters because everyone was mad that Stanley was like being buried there. So she's starting to think of all the instances that may be connected, and she makes a spreadsheet. Super fun. Anyways, how often they're happening, what's actually happening, just so she can like kind of lay it all out. And she concludes that like when people say disappeared, that usually means dead. Like, you know, most people don't come back from being disappeared. And then she's called for dinner. So the potential stalker incident spreadsheet is on page 62 if you're following along. I can post it on social media. You can look at it. But it basically describes all the things I just talked about. Chapter 9. So Pip's still majorly going off the deep end. And she sees Max running like she does in the beginning of the book, and they're like, she crosses the street because he's like on one side of the street, she's on the other, and she elbows him in the face and breaks his nose and like punches him, and then she pushes him in front of a truck and he explodes. Okay, so obviously this doesn't happen. Like, she's hallucinating with rage. I don't like this because this gives me We Were Liar vibes. It's like, just tell me what's happening. Don't, like, I don't know. They made it seem like, oh, this is what's actually happening. Like, we know she didn't push him in front of a car. Anyways, they pass each other on the run. No consequence. Like, nothing happens. Pip gets to this light post that's burnt out, and then that's like the spot in her run where she usually slows down to walk to go home. And on the sidewalk, and it's like not in front of her house, but she can see her house from where she's at. So it's like down the street. There's chalk written on the sidewalk that says dead girl walking. So like Pip takes a picture of it to like document it. And then Ravi pulls up into her driveway. So she tells him about the chalk message, and he's like obviously concerned. He's like, you should go to the police. It could be Max. It could even be like Charlie Green. And like they kind of go back and forth about it, but she reluctantly decides to go to the police, which is in the next chapter. And then they walk hand in hand back to the chalk drawing, and there's a picture of that on page 70, which I can also post that. Chapter 10. So Pip goes to the police station, talk to Officer Hawkins. He was like the main, he might be the captain, I'm not sure. But anyways, he was like the main police officer in the last 2 episodes, whatever. And she talks about her last experience being in the police station, which was right after Stanley died. They had to like do her fingerprints, and she was in shock, and it's like traumatic. Like I said, just like go read the book for this kind of stuff because it's hard to explain. You just have to get it over and over to kind of see what she's going through. But anyways, she tells Hawkins that she has a stalker, and she shows him like the spreadsheet and explains everything. And long story short, like he doesn't believe her. Like he's like, how do you know all this is connected? Like, I can't, what am I supposed to do about this? How am I supposed to investigate this? And Pip loses it, and she basically reminds him about how all this stuff with Jamie like wouldn't have happened, and Stanley would still be alive if he actually like did his job, because he sucks at his job and Pip was right the whole time or whatever. And Hawkins is like, well, what did you expect when you made yourself a public figure with this podcast and stuff? Like, you're going to have people that send mean stuff. Thank goodness I have not experienced that too much yet, but he basically victim blames her. It's so stupid. But anyway, he also says that Jason Bell, who he sometimes plays tennis with or whatever, has been harassed as well. Poor baby. So anyways, before she walks out of the police station, he suggests that she makes a list of anyone who has a grudge against her. And Pip's like, thanks for, I'm like, so glad you're going to looking into it. I love the sarcasm. Anyway, she also says to him, like, as she's walking out, that Charlie Green was right, and she hopes Hawkins never finds him. Because, like, Charlie at one point said, things should be settled outside the law because, like, police officers won't help you, blah, blah, blah. So Pip decides at this point to, like,